Period.
So common sense is something that I feel we all think that we have some sort of something inside of us. Everybody should feel that they have a lot of common sense within them. So today I'm going to be talking about a quote that says, "Common sense is the most evenly distributed quantity in the world. Everyone thinks he has enough." So 3 things I'm going to be outlining for you guys today is how technology can affect our common sense, common courtesy, and then just kind of like another example of how technology affects us. So my first example is kind of like people will be walking, they'll be on their phones, and they're kind of like not even realize where they're going, and they're not using like their common sense, like, oh, I'm about to walk into like a train, like, but they're too busy on their phones, so they're kind of not even like noticing. And then common courtesy, you know, sometimes like someone will open a door for you, and it's kind of like, oh, they just walk by, they don't even say thank you or anything like that. So that's another thing that people think they probably have something in them, but where the author says everyone thinks he has enough, but some people probably don't even have anything, especially when they're kind of just not using their common courtesy, they're kind of just being rude and stuff like that. And then another example of common sense is kind of like those phone calls that we all get. It's like, oh, you just went a trip to Africa or Hawaii, or then like someone like will message you and be like, hey, like, I need, I don't know, just kind of like offering you money, and people will be like, oh my god, like free money, and then they'll like take it. So that's another example. I personally have a personal example. My best friend's mother, she was like doing this online dating with this guy, and they were talking for about like a couple of months, and then this guy was like, oh, by the way, I need either 900 or 9,000. And like, I need this much money from you, like, you know, we're in love, like, can you help me out? And she's like, yeah, and, you know, she like forwarded him the money through some certain app, I'm not sure which one it was. And then the guy just blocked her on everything, like, every social media and everything. So like, that was kind of an example of how she wasn't using her common sense. She didn't even know this guy, and she just kind of like, just gave him all this money. So just to go back on my quote, is that common sense is the most evenly distributed quantity in the world, and everyone thinks it has enough.
All right, well, I thought you had a pretty solid start of the speech. There's an excellent preview, although your third point sounds like it's going to be a little bit vague. There's a structure to the material that you're presenting, which shows that you've got the mechanics down well, and I think you're doing fine there. I think some of the examples could use a little bit more detail, but they fit the point that you're trying to make, so they work in the long run. And I thought at the end of the speech that you came back and tried to remind us what the quote was. I think you could be a little bit clearer on your perspective on it, but I know that generally what the subject was and what your general perspective on it was. Delivery issues are, almost all of them are really solid. There's just 1 or 2 things that you're doing that's a little bit odd. You have a tendency to hold the topic in your hand like that, and so that limits your gestures a little bit, and that looks a little bit awkward. And I thought that you did a solid job speaking to us, though. You looked at us for the most part. Your facial expressions were engaged. I could hear you pretty effectively. I didn't hear a lot of hesitations or vocalized pauses or any of those things. So you're doing a good job on that kind of stuff too. So I think you've got the right idea. Just need to work a little bit on content issues, and it's an impromptu speech, so that kind of thing happens. As long as you keep doing the other things, you're going to be fine. Now, what I need everybody to do is keep doing the things that you're doing here when you do the next prepared speech, and not fall back into the bad habits that you've been doing, where you start reading stuff to us. If people start reading to me, I'm going to scream. You were fine. You didn't do that. Thank you.